How you doing, Trench? I'm back.
If you're a sincere seeker of truth, check that.
This is the part you want to cut out and put on Twitter.
Assalamu alaikum, guys, and welcome to an episode.
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Oh, you guys been asking for it. Apos.
I have no muscles here. I have no muscles. I have no muscles here. I have no muscles.
So Apos has been dodging Mohammed Hijab for quite a while now. So to confront his Islamophobia and hate preaching, Mohammed Hijab had to adopt a slightly different style. With the help of Adam Saleh and Slim, Hijab decided to pay Apos a surprise visit.
Because you don't believe in it, you are also followed and persecuted for that. So it is completely normal that somebody who leaves Islam, whose entire life was defined by the fears of
No!
We have our friend here who's more I feel like he's way more. It's not about Mohammed Hijab. No, it's not about him. It's not about that.
Calm down.
I have made it straight.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Look. Apos, relax. Apos.
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Incest is okay, you said. Incest is okay.
No, I've never said that either.
So if two sisters or if two brothers have incest sexual relationship, there's nothing. I can't see anything wrong with it, right?
Well, there is actually nothing wrong with it, yeah.
Why you always freaking lying? Why you always lying? Why you always lying?
No, I've never said that either.
Why you always freaking lying?
I said to Ali Dawa, he asked me, do you think it's okay for the father and the son to have sex? I said, if there was no harm to society and to the individual.
Whoa, no harm to society. Whoa, hey, yo.
It's the one and only Digo Double G. It's the one and only Digo Double G.
الزنا لا يحرم. لو واحد زنى بامرأة وحملت منه يقول لك ان هذا الماء غير محرم. يعني ايه غير محرم؟ يعني دي مش بنته. يعني ايه برضه مش فاهم يا عم الشيخ؟ يعني هل يجوز له نكاحها؟ قال لك يتجوزها عادي. دي بنته. قال لك مين اللي قال بنته؟ هي لا بنته لا شرعا ولا شيء. مش بنته، لن تنسب له اصلا. ولما واحد يزني بواحده ويخلف منها بنت تتكتب باسمه، باسم الزاني؟ لا ابدا ابدا، يبقى مش بنته.
Incest is okay, you said. Incest is okay.
He was like, whoa, oh my god. I was like,
You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. Wallahi, you're finished. Wallahi, you're finished. Don't ever come out. Any retraction you do now, switch off your social media. I don't want to see your face. I don't want to hear your voice. Wallahi, you're a crook and a fraudster.
It's the one and only Digo Double G. It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Yeah.
Why you always freaking lying? Why you always lying? Why you always lying?
No, I've never said that either.
Why you always freaking lying?
I said to Ali Dawa, he asked me, do you think it's okay for the father and the son to have sex? I said, if there was no harm to society and to the individual.
Whoa, no harm to society. Whoa, hey, yo.
Prophecies are something else. Like the Prophet Muhammad, we say, he made explicit prophecies about the future. He told us in many hadiths where Islam will spread. He told us Islam will spread to Egypt. He told us Islam will spread to India. He told us Islam will spread to Sindh wal Hind, India and what's now Pakistan. He told us it will spread to your country in Turkey. that the Arabs will fight the Turks. He told us that count 6 things between the hour. One of them is Moti. That Islam is going to enter Jerusalem, which is a place which is the crown jewel of the Roman Empire. Islam predicted the demise of the Roman Empire.
Did Mohammed Hijab really mention the name or the word the Roman Empire? Sahih Muslim, hadith number 2898a. I heard Allah's Messenger saying, the last hour would come when the Romans would form a majority amongst people. Have you seen any Romans lately, guys? Because last time I checked, there are no Romans and there is no Roman Empire anymore. Did Muhammad lie? You can be the judge of that, people.
What is his name? Notius Maximus.
Otherwise, to show that there has been a prophecy that was made by the Prophet of Islam or the Quran that in fact did not materialize, that the Prophet or Islam said this will happen and the opposite thing happened.
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
I was like, whoa, oh my God. I was like,
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Yeah.
Why you always freaking lying? Why you always lying? Why you always lying?
No, I've never said that either.
Why you always freaking lying?
The Quran itself has falsification challenges. It actually says if you believe that this book is from other than God, then please try and find it. Or you would have found in it many contradictions.
I have shown many of them.
Challenge there to try and find contradictions in the Quran.
I have falsified the Quran on very high levels.
Do it now, that's fine. The inimitability challenge is to try and produce something like the Quran, which means that it has to go within the scope of, it has to do exactly what the Quran has done, which includes, by the way, telling the future, because the Quran speaks explicitly about future events like chapter 30 verses 1 to 6.
And it is wrong about that.
And yes, in many other places of the Quran, like chapter 24 verses 55 and onwards.
So yes, it is wrong about that.
Yes, in many other places of the Quran, like chapter 24 verses 55 and onwards.
So yes, it is wrong about that.
You heard Mohammed Hijab. He said if the Quran was not from God, you would have seen many contradictions and mistakes in it. Well, here we have a surprise for Mohammed Hijab. Contradiction in the Quran. In chapter 18, ayah 50. It says, and when we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam, and they prostrated except for Iblis, he was of the jinn. Now pay attention. Allah is commanding the angels to prostrate to Adam. So they did, and they prostrated. Except for Iblis, he was one of the jinn. Allah is commanding the angels. So why is Allah getting angry with Iblis, who is a jinn, who is the devil? That doesn't make sense. Here we find a huge contradiction, a huge mistake in this ayah. Allah, why are you mad with Iblis, who is the shaitan, while you are only commanding the angels to do sujood, to do prostration to Adam? In Islam, jinns and angels are totally different beings. So here we have a huge contradiction. Deal with it, Muslims. Deal with it, Mohammed Hijab.
If you believe that this book is from other than God, then please try and find it. Or you would have found in it many contradictions. لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا.
I have shown many of them.
Challenge there to try and find contradictions in the Quran.
I have falsified the Quran on very high levels.
Do it now. That's fine.
You are so silly.
Welcome to a very, very important episode, because we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is the topic of embryology and comparing it with the Quranic discourse and scientific discourse.
Embryology means it's the study of the development of the human being, the early stages of human being in the womb of the mother, for those who don't know.
The beginning of a human being. Yet in the Quran it's clearly described 1400 years ago.
Surah Hajj, chapter 22, verse number 5, and Surah Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 13.
And certainly did we, God, Allah, create man from an extract of clay. Then we placed him as a watery bit of semen in a firm lodging. Then we made the watery part of the semen a creature that can attach. Then we made the creature that can attach a chewed matter. Then we made the chewed matter bones, and we covered the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators.
This is just some crumbs.
And this is the Muslim translation. Remember, not my translation. I don't approve any Islamic translation, but yet we will use it. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. Translation: Verily we created the man from a product with earth, then placed him in a drop as a drop of seed in safe lodging. Then we fashioned the drop into a clot, and then we fashioned the clot into a little loom. Then we fashioned the little loom into bones, and then the bones then we close the bones with the flesh, and we produce another creation. The Quranic claim here that the sperm of the man, which is the drop of semen, will transform into a clot. And this is what he mentioned here, the word nutfa. The nutfa mean?
Give us some information about the nutfa.
It refers to sperm.
But by what they say, and this translation in front of us, they just prove to us that Muhammad is a false prophet. Allah has created you from a sperm drop. The human being is not created from a drop of a sperm. The human being is created from one sperm, not a drop, because the woman egg will be fertilized by one semen, that not by a drop, and this fluid is a semen. But the human being is not created from a drop of semen. The human being is created from the woman egg and the man sperm, and not a drop.
The sperm within the semen meets with the egg. The difference between semen and sperm is that the semen is what contains the sperm.
If we go in the Quran, we will find the following, and this is an obvious, clear mistake in the Quran. How Allah He makes such a mistake in His God, that He created us from a sperm, and He made the sperm transform into a clot of a congealed blood. We made the sperm into a clot, not sperm and then a clot.
So what does the word alaqa actually mean?
It's a blood clot. Blood clot. That's an alaqa.
And the clot is what? Is made from a congealed blood, which means a dead blood.
Generally, it means that it's blood that is jammed, that is quite solidified. Yeah, a clot of blood, that's generally translated.
And then we created the nutfa and we make it a clot. But the fact the Quran says, it says a clot which is a congealed blood.
We speak about embryology are in perfect conformity with latest advances of embryology.
You're finished. Wallahi, you're finished. Wallahi, you're finished.
The sperm itself transformed into a clot, and there's no scientist believe in such a garbage.
We have created the human being from minute quantity of sperm, then made it into an alaqa, then made the alaqa into mudga.
Quran is quite unique in describing those stages, because the bones are formed first and then the muscles. And
according to the Quran, the embryo in the womb of his mother is being developed. We see that you have a lump of flesh, then you get the bones, so it becomes bones, so the flesh becomes bones, and then the bones are covered with flesh. Do you see it?
And then the congealed blood became a lump, and then bones, and then we close the flesh by the bones by flesh.
The human embryo, that in the 7th week the bones are formed, and immediately after that the flesh is formed, and the bones are closed with flesh.
So let us see if this is true, guys. Let us see if this is true, all right?
We speak about embryology are in perfect conformity with latest advances of embryology.
Crook! Wallahi, you're a crook. You are a crook.
Modern science explains that the mesoderm, right, you have a tissue, basically layers of tissue. The mesoderm is responsible, which is this stuff here that you see here. It's the tissue, right, which is responsible for forming tissue such as flesh and bones. So this layer, this part here is responsible for forming tissue such as flesh and bones. This layer, so this mesoderm layer, develops the flesh and bones simultaneously.
The Holy Quran not only stated the specific sequence of events that can lead to embryo creation, that during embryonic development, the bones are formed first and then the flesh of muscles.
We speak about embryology are in perfect conformity with latest advances of embryology.
What? At the same time, flesh and bones are developed. So modern science destroys the Quranic claim. As we mentioned, one error destroys Quran, destroys Islam, cripples Islam, and proves that Muhammad is nothing but a fake prophet.
Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse 43, and Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 7, which says, if you don't know, if you're in doubt, ask the person who's knowledgeable.
Right. And these are forming simultaneously with each other.
Right. Simultaneously. Simultaneously.
So no, you don't get the bones first and then tissue, which is flesh that covers the bones. No, bones and flesh are developed simultaneously when you have a baby. Muslims, the Quran is wrong about the embryology stages.
That during embryonic development, the bones are formed first and then the flesh of muscles.
What the hell is this? A'udhu billah.
All of the creation kind of happens, the creation of the hearing, etc., fashioning of the bones and clothing of the flesh. It all happens simultaneously.
In the 7th week, the bones are formed, and immediately after that, the flesh is formed.
It all happens simultaneously.
If we have a Muslim parent, a mother or a father, let's say the father, imagine if your wife is pregnant. God forbid, if she gets a miscarriage and she loses the baby at this stage that you see here, the highlighted stage, the bones, then we can say, congratulations, Dad, you just became father to a skeleton baby. There is no flesh. Can you imagine, guys? Look at this baby.
Is the fact that the Quran, a book revealed in the 6th century, described this intricate process so accurately all those years ago.
People that are trying to promote Islam as to make it scientific friendly or science friendly.
So no, chapter 23, ayah 14 is garbage, is comic. It's man-made, brother. Man-made, brother, yes, man-made.
There are no embryological details of any consequence in the Quran.
But let us see where Muhammad plagiarized this from.
And to speculate that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, must have learned that from someone else.
Here, from this guy. From Galen, a Greek scientist who lived 1900 years ago, which is 500 years before Islam. Let us see what Galen said. Galen, 500 years, claims that Hippocrates and Aristotle, which came before him,
Aristotle also describes the emergence of bones and muscle.
He claims that they were wrong, right? They also made claims, and this guy claims that they were wrong. Galen says water, which is sperm, right? Sperm, water of the man, the sperm of the man, and the sperm of the woman, yes. And this sperm becomes menstrual blood, dead blood, congealed dead blood, blood clot, which is dead blood. So from menstrual dead blood, you get living tissue, flesh, and then this flesh becomes bones first. And then this guy says, after the bones being developed, then the flesh grows around the bones. Wrong. You see? Copy paste. You see?
I mean, those stages are quite peculiar to the Quran.
We have seen the evidence. You cannot escape anymore. You're finished. A'udhu billah.
So first you get the dead blood clot, and then from the clot you get a lump of flesh, and that flesh becomes bones, skeleton baby, and then the bones are covered with flesh. Exactly like Galen.
I mean, those stages are quite peculiar to the Quran.
Copy paste, brother. Plagiarizing. Galen is wrong. Allah is wrong. Muhammad is wrong.
And to speculate that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, must have learned that from someone else.
How did Muhammad get access to the work of Galen? That's the $1 million question. How? There was a Aramaic-speaking guy by the name of Sergius of Rushina. He was an Aramaic-speaking Christian who translated 26 books that were written by Galen. So Sergius of Rushina was translating the Greek into Aramaic. So now we have the work of Galen in Aramaic, and we know that Aramaic was basically like the Greek and Aramaic were basically the languages like English of today in the Middle East.
How would a desert nomad know that?
So what happened? Sergius, he came from Turkey, right? Do you see it? He lived here in Turkey. He moved with his family and he took his translated work of Galen with him to Persia. So we have the Aramaic translated work of Galen now in Persia. So there was a medical school in Persia, in the area called or city called Jundi Shapur. So Galen's work, now translated into Aramaic by Sergius, reached this school in Jundi Shapur in the 6th century. So here the work of Galen is started to be taught from in the Aramaic. As you see, many people have been graduating in this Jundi Shapur medical school, and they got graduated and became doctors, including a guy whose name was Al-Harith ibn Qallada or Qalda.
Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam took it from Al-Harith ibn Qalda, who was known as Tabib al-Arab. He was known as the doctor of the Arabs. And they say that he was someone who was quite learned and traveled many lands, and he came across many cultures and many theories.
This guy, this name that you see here, who studied medicine in the same school and read what Galen said about the embryology stages. After graduation, look what happened. This Al-Harith ibn Qallada, so he goes to Mecca and becomes one of the companions of who? The Prophet of Islam.
How would a desert nomad know that?
This is how Muhammad had access to the books of Galen, because of Al-Harith ibn Qallada. Later, Al-Harith ibn Qallada even marries the aunt of the Prophet and became a companion. He was living with Muhammad for 20 years. For 2 decades, he is teaching Muhammad about medicine and medical things and whatnot, including embryology that we can find in the Quran.
I mean, those stages are quite peculiar to the Quran.
Quran says in Surah Tariq, chapter number 86, verse number 5 to 7, that does not man know from what is created? He is created from a drop coming forth from a space between the backbone and the ribs.
Ibn Kathir, he said clearly that the baby is created from a gashing fluid, chapter 86, verse number 6 and 7.
What does the Quran mean by saying the human beings have been created from a drop coming from a space between the backbone and the ribs?
He created you from water, gushing forth, meaning a sexual fluid that comes burst forth from the men and the women. Thus the child will produce by both of them. Then proceeding from between the backbone and the ribs, meaning the backbone of the man and the ribs of the women. So the God of the Quran claimed that women and men, both of them, they produce sexual fluid, and that caused the baby to come to existence. And the sexual fluid come from the backbone of the man, as you see, and the ribs of the women.
The human beings have been created from a drop coming from a space between the backbone and the ribs.
Galen did not know that women have eggs. So he was wrong, and he thought that women have sperm. This is this Galen here. So Muhammad got it from him, and Muhammad also was wrong in the Quran. Right? Remember, nutfa, because Muhammad thinks that women have sperm like men, gushing out from the necklace area, right? The necklace area of the woman and the backbone of the man. Lord have mercy. So Muhammad and Galen, they believe that women and men have sperm.
And Professor Keith Moore said that this information in the Quran cannot come from a human source. The author of this Quran has to be Almighty God.
Listen to me. We have the evidences. You don't believe? Wallahi, we have the evidence. We saw it with our eyes. Don't mess around. Don't play games.
And that's alone proven to us. And by the way, this is not only Ibn Kathir saying, this is what the Quran is saying. The Quran is saying, As-sulb wa tara'ib. As-sulb is the hard bone, which is the last one in the end. The last bone in your spine is that is the sulb. So Muhammad, he claimed that the sperm of the man is coming from the sulb, and which is the backbone, as you see, and the women coming from the ribs. And that alone is enough to prove to us that Muhammad is a false prophet. No, we have more.
The Quran also says in Surah Sajda, chapter number 32, verse number 8, that we have created the human being from a quintessence. The Quran further says in Surah Insan, chapter 76, verse number 2, we have created the human being from nutfatin amshaj, from a minute quantity of mingled fluids.
Muhammad even, he go farther and he claim more crazy stuff. As an example, the man and the women, when they have sex, they see their sperm coming out. Water. So Muhammad and the Quran, both of them, they use the word water, and the word water means semen. Muhammad, he claimed that men and women, they have water, which is semen, and that semen of the man is white and the women is thin and yellow, and whoever of them comes first will make the baby resemble the parents.
And today's science tells us that the 23rd pair of chromosomes in the human being, it determines the sex of the child. If it's XX, it's a female. If it's XY, then it's a male.
Which means the baby will become male or female.
That the sperm is responsible for the sex of the child.
Here Muhammad, he made it clear. If a man have orgasm first, the baby will be a male. If the women have orgasm first, the baby will be a female.
And this is exactly what the Quran says in Surah Najm, chapter number 53, verse number 45 and 46. That we have created the human being from a minute quantity of liquid which is ejaculated.
Actually, this whole thing is not correct.
Muhammad obviously is a false prophet.
But what about Dr. Kate Moore, brother? How many times have you Muslims seen talking about Dr. Kate Moore?
In the late 70s. And Professor Keith Moore at that time was one of the highest authorities in the field of embryology.
Let me tell you what Keith Moore said. What he said on the page number 364A of his book.
He said that most of the verses of the Quran which speak about embryology are in perfect conformity with latest advances of embryology.
What did Dr. Keith Moore say?
Well, Keith Moore is wrong. He's an embryologist. This is his field.
It's my field too.
Okay, you're an embryologist.
Yes.
Oh, great! Wow.
Anyway.
He said in his book, this Dr. Kidmore, in 1998, his book in page 15 says, the Quran pretty much copied from the words of God.
And he said that he has no objection in agreeing that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the messenger of this God.
He was an agnostic, according to his own confession. And we saw this as a video, not even black and white. It was a colored video with audio and video. At the same time, of course, he's profiting from Islam and from Muslims.
Never, ever, ever bring up Dr. Kidmore, because Dr. Kidmore just destroyed you and your Prophet and the Quran.
Now, almost without a shadow of a doubt clear.
Muhammad obviously is a false prophet.
Please don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, click on that bell, smash it. Thank you for watching, guys, and God bless.
I was like, whoa, oh my God. I was like,
that the standard narrative,
You're finished.
has holes, that the standard narrative,
You're finished.
has holes. This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on? Here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out. And you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward. That the standard narrative,
You're finished.
has holes. That the standard narrative,
You're finished.
has holes. And I don't think it is wise to bring it up. Why didn't I say it? Because it should not be said in public. I don't want to get into that issue. I don't even want to be explicit. It should only be discussed amongst those who are familiar with this science. It should never be brought up in public. This is not something you discuss amongst the masses, ya akhi. It's not wise. That the standard narrative,
You're finished.
has holes. That the standard narrative,
You're finished.
has holes.
You're finished.
Anyways, I'm done.
I'll be back.
Surprise!